Next up, we got the Brony Degenerates by Turkey Tom.
My Little Pony is an
Let's
instantly recognizable Hasbro franchise that's loved by millions. The brand, which now brings in hundreds of millions of dollars, dates all the way back to the 80s when its first pony toys launched. But it had a significantly different customer base back then than it does now in the internet age. The most loyal MLP fans are no longer little girls who like horses, but
there's no shot
men
that the majority of people that watch My Little Pony are these fuckers. There's no way. There's no way that over 50% is them. And if it is, that's a problem.
Like horses in a very different way. It's all because, in 2010, Hasbro launched the 4th generation of this beloved franchise, called My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
My little pony, friendship is magic.
It, of course, featured plenty of merchandise aimed at young girls,
as a
but also
grown-ass
a
man, what
television show
appeals?
created by Lauren
What the
Fox,
fuck's the appeal
wife
here?
of Craig McCracken, the creator of Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Lauren had contributed to her husband's shows in the past, but this was her first show of her own. She was skeptical at first when Hasbro reached out to her because the show could end up being nothing more than a shallow advertisement for their products. But she took the opportunity to try making a genuinely entertaining series for children. The show would end up being an undeniable success, but probably not in the way Hasbro expected it to be. It became a pop culture phenomenon, not just among children, but grown men on 4chan of all places.
Well, I'm wearing purple Twilight Sparkle Horn. The plushes I got at Walmart.
I low-key
Who knows
forgot
how
these
they
dudes
stumbled upon
existed.
it? The best case scenario is that they were forced to watch the show while babysitting a younger cousin or something. But, however they came across it, what matters is they ended up really liking it. The phenomenon started on the comics and cartoons board, and it was mostly ironic, at first, anyways. My Little Pony threads would eventually make their way onto other boards, with Anons posting pictures of characters like they would with anime girls. People who weren't into the show got fed up, and pony posters started being banned in February 2011. Moot, the creator of 4chan and other 4chan mods, would start promoting Brony-owned 4chan websites and banning pony posters. These bronies, a term which was coined just 2 weeks after the show first aired, fled across the internet, creating their own websites and invading others with their content. A year after all of these mass bannings, Moot would apologize and create /MLP, a board to contain all pony content. Some users thought it was a honeypot to catch.
I said if you can't beat them, just put them on their own fucking island and put them away from us.
And ban more bronies, but that was not the case. With this board came the creation of Global Rule 15, which states that no pony posting is allowed outside of /MLP, although it was already too late for such a measure, since pony content was now going viral across the internet. The fandom grew large enough to host conventions that brought in significant numbers of attendees. By 2013, BronyCon boasted over 8,000 people. That level of popularity continued to the very end of the show, with its last season airing in 2019. And that same year, the 11th and final BronyCon drew over 10,000 attendees.
Twilight became an alicorn, which is a mix between a Pegasus and a unicorn.
Oh, God.
And I really felt like the season was over, that we were done. And when they confirmed that we're going to have season 4, I lost it. I was ecstatic.
I told my mom, and she's like, what? I like ponies. And she's like, okay.
But bronies are an inherently divisive species. Most people instinctively find it weird for grown men to have an interest in a show for little girls.
Extremely
especially
weird.
with a title as unambiguously infantile as Friendship is Magic. Some people are more open-minded towards others' bizarre interests, but that tolerant attitude only goes so far.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
see, bronies aren't just peculiar,
Exactly.
but in a few cases, they're outright depraved. When the community expanded from the outskirts of 4chan into the mainstream internet, any semblance of irony, if it was ever truly there, was lost. It attracted people who were genuinely into horses, and I do mean into horses.
Gross.
If you scratch the slightest bit below the surface of the brony fandom, you will unearth an astonishing amount of pony pornography.
Oh, sweet, man-made, horrors beyond my comprehension.
There is even terminology for it. When a brony is masturbating to MLP porn, he is clopping, a reference to how equines have hooves. There is even a Wikipedia page for it, believe it or not. Not to be confused with pawing off or yiffing, which is what furries call it when they're whacking it. On a side note, I just did an MRI and found I have stage 4 brain cancer from learning about these things, so I hope this video really pays off. Even Lauren Foster herself, the show's creator, ventured onto the MLP board on occasion, and had this to say about it. I don't come often. Some unsettling stuff is here,
Facts.
but sometimes I'll put on my armor and come over. I've seen some of the most thoughtful critiques here. You know, unsettling is pretty generous, considering there is
It's a
not
show
one,
made for
not
children.
2, but 5
It
academic
doesn't have a
studies
deeper meaning.
conducted on those who are a little too into animated ponies, along with multiple journalistic articles documenting the millennial propensity to clop. Today, we'll explore just how deep this rabbit hole of degeneracy goes, the highlights, if you can call it that,
Omega
of the
degenerate.
Brony fandom.
Omega degeneracy. That was just the intro, dog. That was
Because
just the
animation
intro.
content on YouTube has become
Crazy.
so large, making videos
Hooked.
criticizing animation YouTube has become a genre in its own right. And even I was a part of it at one point. Whether that's criticizing the animators from the Storytime community themselves, or just making fun of animation reviewers and critics like the mysterious Mr. Enter, or the now retired Digibro, currently known as YGG Studio. In a similar fashion, a fair amount of creators in the Brony fandom got popular reviewing and discussing My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and other pony-related topics, and they were commonly referred to as the Brony analysis community.
Bro.
This is where infamous creator Digibro got his start, where he,
YG
now
I
she,
feel like I've
was
heard of
still
him.
known as Digibrony MLP.
I feel like I've heard of that
This
YGG
episode
dude.
strongly supports my theory that the ponies are teenagers. You see, I've always been a little bit confused about Rainbow Dash's status as an exceptional flyer.
But she's not the topic of discussion today. The man of the hour is Zach Kays, better known online as Toon Critic Y2K, who is a creator in this scene. Zach created his YouTube channel on May 3rd, 2012, right when the Brony community was skyrocketing in popularity, from a niche 4chan subculture to a full-blown fandom in its own right. Zach's content has pretty much been wiped off the face of the internet, and the story of his career isn't super well documented. The Internet Archive doesn't seem to have much
They
either,
put way too much
so it's hard
sauce
to
on his
find out
pizza.
when he got popular and which of his videos got him the most attention. From the
Too
few
much sauce,
archives
not
that
enough
do
cheese.
exist, we know that in 2014 he had garnered over 3,000 subscribers, and in 2015 he was making $170 per written review or vlog on Patreon. We also know that by 2017 he had 17,000 subscribers, but often struggled to break 1,000 views a video. Now, going by those numbers, it's evident that Zach just didn't achieve the same level of success as creators like I Love Kimpossible a lot and Josh Scorcher. However, he was well connected with other Brony creators, and apparently he was a part of a big Skype group called the Rift Cafe, which describes itself as a collaborative storyline made up by the Brony analysis community. Basically, a crowdsourced,
What?
collaborative,
Like they just make their own story?
self-insert fanfic. We get
Oh.
some more details about Toon from his page on the Rift Cafe wiki, such as an illustration of
If
his
you're in this deep, you
steampunk
need help.
neckbeard pony Sona, and a description of his edgelord alter ego, Cartoons, which seems exactly like the kind of thing a Brony would find cool. Take this excerpt from the wiki. On one fateful day, Toon chose to create Cartoons for a small joke, but during the showdown against Thunder Blight, Toon was attacked by a beam and Cartoons took a physical form. But this Cartoons was different. He was vicious and attacked people, and he took delight in every second of it. Eventually, Cartoons defeated Toon in a debate and took over his channel. He then proceeded to
What?
systematically attack other reviewers, such as Lightning Bliss and Golden Fox, in an attempt to psychologically break them. Apparently, his alter ego, Cartoons, took over his channel from time to time to terrorize others in the Brony analysis community. I gotta say, I appreciate his dedication to the LARP grind. Anyway, because of his involvement in the community and the fact he obtained minor E-fame, known in the Brony fandom as Horse Fame, really creative with that one, guys, he would
Horse
get to take
Fame.
part in popular group projects,
I need
such as
water
a
real
series called TF2 Analysis. It's a strange crossover in which various creators from the community interact with each other in the world of the Valve game Team Fortress 2. But every character is a pony. Apparently, it has an ongoing story and lore, and the first episode somehow has 500,000 views.
1. I am the prettiest unicorn. 2. My mane is lustrous and fragrant and catches the wind perfectly. Therefore, I am going to trot into the forest and pick each and every one of you maggots an arrangement of
Bada
flowers.
bing.
There are over 150 of these animations, with new ones being uploaded to this very day. I have quite literally zero idea what is going on in any of these, but I guess I haven't had my skull crushed by a hydraulic press of children's cartoons sufficiently enough to understand it. Despite the fact that Zach would seem to have the mind of an infant,
I'm
his
glad
behavior
none of
towards
my
others
friends
was
ever
anything
turned
but
into a
innocent.
fucking brony.
In a video
I
by
can
YouTuber Vita,
gladly
he
say I have
discusses
no brony
allegations that
homies.
surfaced of Zach
None of the
repeatedly
homies are
groping
bronies.
women at brony conventions
Some
and getting away
weebs.
with it because he had
Not
quote,
bronies, though.
fame. I guess this is his version of the Trump grab him by the pussy moment, but without the they let you do it caveat.
The two most noteworthy ones I was around to witness are the time when he groped Kitty's ass at BronyCon in the vendor hall when she was standing right by her boyfriend, likely
What the
since he
fuck?
didn't expect her to make a scene in a public location, and when he was dating Kelly, who is asexual and has a great fear of that level of intimacy. Toon tried to coerce her into sending him naked photos anyways and planned on
What?
getting her to sleep with him at a future convention. Basically,
What?
really scummy shit.
It's disturbing that being
Weirdo
a mere
shit.
micro-celebrity
Yeah, bro's
may
being a
seem as
weirdo.
inane and irrelevant
Double
as the
weird.
Brony
You like
fandom
ponies
can
and you're a
still help
weirdo
you get
weirdo?
away with murder off of what little clout you have. But I digress. After these two instances were brought up by Vita, another person testified in the comments to having been groped by him. Most people don't even remember the groping allegations though, because ultimately it was small compared to the heinous nature of other of Zach's misdeeds. In 2018, over 500 screenshots surfaced, which showed Zach sexting a girl, beginning when she
Bro. Not only did you get caught in 4 fucking K, you got caught in 4K 500 times. That's wild. That's wild, bro. 4K 500 times. Get him out of here.
she was just 14 years old.
And
while he
she was
already
14.
a
Get
whopping
him outta here.
24 years old, a full decade older. At the start of their interactions, he began doing role plays with her, and in
What
one
the
of these
fuck?
abhorrent sessions, which I'll spare you the details of, he said, "It's just so exciting knowing you're barely legal."
What
After
the
many
fuck?
such exchanges, he whipped
Get him
out
outta
some
here.
textbook grooming language to try to escalate things beyond just role-playing as each other's character, and into a personal relationship with her. Well, here's the
What do you
thing.
mean? And also, what do you mean barely legal? She is not legal. She's 14. That's not even close. Not even. So that's even more weird, dog. How is 4 years close?
I'm not
Yo.
asking to be in a relationship with you. When I said go further, I mean a step
Burn
further
down
than just
4chan.
role-playing and teasing, because you are too young to
Burn
start a
it down
relationship.
immediately.
However, I want to explore those other kind
on, what did he
because
say?
you are too young to start a relationship. However, I want to explore those other kinds of feelings, more so on the romantic side. Do you get what I'm saying?
Fucking
I want you
weirdo.
to know this is all okay, and I want to help you understand all of this, but only if you want to go a little further. He said other things along these lines, continuing to acknowledge just how young she was in comparison to him, though continuously not taking it seriously in consideration, disregarding even her hesitation about it. Zach, is it weird that I'm attracted to you? Girl, like in what way, if I may ask?
Yes, very
Zach,
weird.
Okay, like attracted in the mental and emotional sense. Girl, hey, I'm flattered really. It's just that, for one thing, the 10-year difference, man, XD, and just, I think you're a really great friend. Zach, yeah, 10-year difference, XD. He then tried
Yeah.
to arrange a way to meet
Fucking
with her
weirdo.
in the real world, showing just how sick his true intentions were.
Yeah.
Girl. Also, a random little thing I
Yeah.
also realized, if you're serious about what we can get away with, if I was ever able to meet you in real life via con or any other visit, you'd technically take my first kiss in that regard. Zach, oh, how so? Girl.
Bro.
Well, I do remember you saying that you wanted to do something like that some time ago.
Pedo and
If it's ever
Elriz.
possible for me to go to a con, which I'm praying for at this point, XD, and me being completely alright with it, don't think I'd forget that kind of stuff, XD. Zach, fair enough. I
Not
think it'd
okay.
be pretty interesting having you all to myself in a hotel room. Girl,
Not
I
okay.
must admit that you're making me morbidly curious on what you would do if that scenario were to come. Zach,
Not
do you actually
okay.
want to know? Imagine the role plays we've done. He also tried to solicit CP from her in a roundabout
Bruh.
way by asking her to try underwear modeling.
This
Zach,
gross
would you
bitch.
ever consider modeling?
This gross
Girl,
bitch.
funny enough, you're not the first person who has said that to me, XD. Zach, I didn't mean to make you feel
You're a gross
uncomfortable
bitch.
before. Girl, you didn't?
You're a degenerate
Don't worry,
fuck.
man. I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point. What makes you say that? Zach, about the curiosity of
500
modeling underwear.
screenshots.
Girl, oh, don't worry. I know you didn't have any ill intent. I trust you like that. Unless you did have actual ill intent. Zach, of course not. I think it would be interesting to see you try that. Private, I mean. Girl, I don't know if I'll pull it off personally. I think I'll just stick with what I'm confident with wearing for now. Zach, life's all about taking chances.
Huh.
You'd have nothing to lose. You already
really
have
trying
the
to persuade a
curves.
14
In
bro.
the same conversation, he comments on her
This is
physical
what-
features,
dude,
and you can
there needs to
probably
be a way
guess the gist of
to
what was
keep
said. But in December 2017, he supposedly
teenagers
realized what he was doing
away
was
from
wrong.
anyone over the
After
age of
13
18.
months of
There
grooming
just
this
needs to be-
girl,
there
he
needs to be a
claims
way.
he came to his senses, though it's more than likely
not
he was
okay.
exclusively worried about getting caught. Girl, oh, so you were uncomfortable
This
with
shit
what
ain't
we've been
okay.
doing previously? Zach, no, I just want to take a break from it. Something didn't feel quite right.
I bet her parents
Girl,
didn't know
I'm
a
curious
goddamn
what you
thing
mean by
either.
that, but
Her
if you
parents
don't
didn't
want
know
to tell
shit.
me, I
They didn't-
won't
they didn't
cry.
see one of you.
Zach,
They just-
up until
This girl messages, this 14-year-old girl messages this 24-year-old man enough to cover up 500 screenshots. And her parents didn't know shit. Dude, people need to watch their
Until
kids.
recently, I thought this was just
You need
for
to watch
fun,
the fucking
but then I
kids.
realized I'm doing this with a 15-year-old. Yeah, I gave one of my friends flack for doing this exact same thing. When all of this came to light, the other bronies in the community who he had been collaborating with confronted him. In January 2018, they had a 35-minute Skype call in which he admitted to the accusations levied against him. Not only that, he claims he has done worse
God.
things than this.
We know that we have a lot of solid evidence and concrete proof that you are, or at least what you have done, is pedophilia. You have asked for photos of her in nothing but a leather jacket and panties.
What the fuck?
You have sent her
That's
pictures
weird.
of your crotch only covered in boxes. You've sent her porn. You've done a lot of bad things, Zach.
There have been times where I admit I have done things that are probably worse than this. In fact, I can safely say
Why would you just admit to that?
this is
Why would
one
you
of
say
the worst
that?
things that I've ever done. But
Why
there
would you
has
say
been
that?
worse there.
Zach also admits to
Cotton
grooming
4K
another
and
underage girl
self-snitch.
years prior to this incident, and that, in that case, the police got involved.
Good.
Wait a minute. Hello?
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach.
Okay, what's going on here? Like, can anyone tell me what's going on?
Okay.
Yes.
So,
British.
do you want me to begin?
Yeah, you get to begin.
Okay, so Toon, we're going to preface all of this with you're in trouble. And this is going to be, a group talk so that we can discuss what we think you need to do and give you a chance to defend yourself. Essentially, we know everything that you've been doing with Pastel over the last year, since November
whole
of 2016.
Okay.
And whether you meant to or not, or thought you could get away with it?
I wasn't what? No. Why that? First off, you guys know me. Like, that's not
thought
the
I
type
did.
of person that I am.
You got caught!
That's
Nigga, what do
not
you
the type of
mean?
person that I
You
am.
got
You've
caught!
known me for years.
In
That's not
4K
the
500
case. I admit,
times!
yes, I've done some pretty stupid things, and yes, this is probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. But people should know me well enough. To
Not
know
enough,
that
apparently,
I don't
you're a
do
pedo.
This kind of stuff, like, with intention to hurt.
You just said you did worse shit, nigga. Bro.
That's not the point.
Bro.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, Zach. These people are your family. They've helped you
Bro.
through so much. And
I
you
know.
took a giant shit on them.
I wasn't trying to do that.
I know,
But that's the
I
thing.
know.
But the fact remains, Zach, that
This conversation pissed me off.
And you have
This conversation
and
upsetting me.
That and what this.
Someone need to yell at this bitch nigga.
Yeah.
We're at this point we're just repeating ourselves, but
Yes.
you need to face the music, all right?
We've told you everything we're going to tell you, essentially. It's up to you now, really. You have 24 hours. You can go to the police, or you can do whatever the hell you want. Quite frankly, I don't care.
Despite this, it seems that no legal action was taken against Zach,
Bruh.
unfortunately. Over the course of the Skype call, Zach didn't
They
do
didn't
much
even-
to defend
they didn't even
himself.
call the
and
police.
admitted
They
he
were
was
pump
wrong,
faking.
But he tried to downplay his actions by claiming he was in a bad place and pretending
Pump faking
he
while
regretted
calling the
having groomed
police.
multiple minors, though he probably only regretted being caught.
There are no excuses. I'm not going to do much really other than say I was in a bad place and I made bad decisions. I'm really fucking sorry about all this. I got involved in the wrong type of thing. I really screwed up on that part.
Saying you're sorry isn't enough. You have to say you're really sorry. It's actually in the Constitution that if you say that and make puppy eyes and touch the tips of your indexes together, like Hinata, the cops have to let you go on the spot. It's like the secret menu, but for getting away with grooming. To close
Bro, This nigga's about to kill me. I'm trying to eat, bro. I'm trying to eat. You can't be busting shit out like that. You about to make me choke and die.
Off the interaction, his now former friends
Wow.
gave him 24 hours to turn himself in and leave the community of his own volition. However, after the 24-hour period, they would still give all the information to the police themselves as well. He didn't seem too distraught about all this until he realized his career as professional Brony web celebrity was essentially over. This is because it's widely accepted that Zach's work as Toon Critic Y2K wasn't very good, and the numbers we went over before from the few archives that exist reflects that fact. Toon's career depended on his relationships with those around him, collaborating with bigger creators, and riding on the coattails of their success. Now that they were not only disavowing him, but trying to get him arrested, we knew his stint of horse fame had met its well overdue demise. At some point in the next few days, the call would be leaked. The story would go public on the Brony drama news site, Horse News, on the 24th of February, and the call would be leaked on the 26th. Further details would only make the situation worse, such as screenshots of Zach defending pedophilia on Skype, despite the fact that he said he wasn't trying to make excuses for what he did during the call. He wrote, "I will say this. These
digging this hole
screen caps, if you
deeper
have
and
seen
deeper.
them, are not fake. I believe this whole entire story is being twisted in a way to make me look bad. Age of consent laws in the Philippines are 12, from what I was told."
Are you in the Philippines?
I
Are you in the fucking
learned that
Philippines?
really trying to explain things doesn't really change much because people will just think it's an excuse, and I'm not really going to try to make any excuses because there is no excuse. What else am I really supposed to say here? Like,
I honestly don't know.
If the story was twisted, it sure didn't take a lot of twisting after all, considering he brought up the age of consent being 12 in the Philippines as if it justified what he did.
For real?
One of the worst cases of CP ever documented came from the Philippines. How would that be a good thing? He literally said it's not pedophilia if he has Filipino boy swag. I wouldn't have been surprised if he pulled a Goodfellas and said he was a maid Brony, and they weren't. By the way, they recently raised the age of consent in the Philippines to 16.
Good.
So what he did would still be
Good.
illegal, even if he lived
They did
there,
that in
which it
2022,
seems he
good.
thought would be ideal. Meanwhile, his Skype profile blatantly displays that he lives in Illinois, where the age of consent is 17. His interactions with this girl, dubbed Sally, were the main focus at first. But shortly after, another girl dubbed Abby would come out with screenshots showcasing the exact same behavior from Toon.
The crazy thing is, if he got caught, even if he got caught, he'd still go to jail for only like 2 years and be out. He'd still only go to jail for like 2 years.
Claiming he
They'd be
wasn't
fucked
going
up.
to creep on this girl, then launching straight into
These are the
sexual
people that need to go to
roleplays.
fucking jail.
Toon's group of close friends who were working on
These
taking
are the
him
people that
down
need to go to fucking
apparently
jail.
didn't even know about this other victim until her information went public. Because of how extensive his crimes were, attention was also drawn towards Toon's now former friend group, and many claimed they were responsible for letting him get away with this pattern of behavior for years. During the confrontation call, people felt they were being too nice to a pedophile whose crimes had already been confirmed. The most notable creators voicing these opinions were Lily Pete and the previously mentioned Vita.
Josh and Ninja are the ones who speak to Zach the most, and you can see two very different approaches from both of them. British Ninja is a total boss and is simply not having any of Zach's shit. While he lets Zach explain his actions, it's clear that the explanation is merely a courtesy, and he has no intention of believing him. He calmly and rationally explains to Toon exactly what's going to happen as a result of his behavior. Meanwhile, Josh is constantly apologizing, repeating how much he doesn't want to do this, and talking about how big of a bone they're trying to throw Zach in spite of all of this, and treating him with the biggest kid gloves he possibly can.
In fact, many Brony content creators would release videos giving their thoughts on the situation, a good portion of them being Zach's former friends disavowing him. One of these videos was by Josh Scorcher, who is one of the main figures confronting Toon on Skype. In the video, Josh explains what happened and responds to criticisms of his handling of the controversy. He explains that they tried keeping this story silent at first for multiple reasons. One being that they didn't want Toon to know what they were up to and start preemptively building up allies to take his side. Instead, they wanted to slowly turn everyone against him.
As people shared their testimony, it came to light that Toon would likely try to find people sympathetic to him to get his side of the story and try to frame himself as a victim. We realized we had to get to everyone else first, so we kept it silent until his closest friends, associates, and colleagues knew about it. We weren't going to let him try to talk to people to smooth things over and jeopardize everything.
Facts, especially when you already had all the info. You already had all of it. Can't let him weasel his way out.
Innocence were his family.
Josh claims this was a success, as the only people close to Toon who took his side were his family, who actually called the other creators and asked them to be nice to him.
And some people who were still physically ill when the video was leaked. and the stress caused them to get worse and to hurt more. Then, some of us were bombarded with accusations, insults, and anger when we were hurt too, and we were still healing. Several people who were on the verge of completely healing are back to square one because they're being accused of things that they aren't responsible for.
There were some other reasons too. They didn't want the victim's name to be out there and forever attached to this scandal. They also wanted to get these stories straight beforehand to make sure misinformation and gossip didn't spread, to get police reports ready, and to not interfere with a criminal investigation. Despite this, there were still concerns as, regardless of what was planned regarding Zach's criminality, it does not seem that he's facing charges. A lot of people were angry at Josh and fellow creator Dr. Wolf, specifically for talking about forgiveness regarding Toon. But Josh said it was all just a misunderstanding.
Believe it or not, I've seen nearly every video and read almost every comment disparaging me and my associates for how the situation was handled. Dr. Wolf recently put out a video concerning forgiveness, and understandably, quite a sizable number of people got angry with it. There was a dramatic failure to communicate about what we meant when we said forgiveness, and we take full responsibility for it.
According to him, they meant it in a Christian sense. They wanted Zach to face consequences, however, they didn't also want him to be treated with cruelty, and were talking about letting go of anger, as they were also trying to help victims and former friends heal regarding what happened.
Okay.
There was one creator
So,
trying
like,
to make it
restorative
in the
justice
Brony
type
analysis
shit?
community named Performance Major, who did take Toon's side,
No,
but
he's a pedo. Lock him up
unsurprisingly,
forever.
while defending him, also admitted
Nah.
to doing erotic roleplay
Disagree.
with anyone, including minors.
He's a Brody, he's a Brony and a pedo.
Roleplay
Lock him
with-
up. Lock him the fuck up.
Just about anyone who's willing.
Put him in jail forever.
And sometimes, if the minor is mature enough, I'll roleplay with them too.
Nigga.
But here's the fucking thing. It's role play.
No, that doesn't make it
Doesn't mean
okay.
anything.
Yes,
Other
it does.
brilliant quotes from Mr.
It doesn't
Major
make it
include,
okay.
He's
It
only
doesn't care if
breaking
it's
the law
role
because
play.
he is above 18,
Nigga.
and she's just as guilty. Zach would
No.
try to crawl back online a few times over the years under new aliases, seemingly
an
unable
adult,
to keep
you
himself
know
away
better.
from the allure of the Brony fandom and new potential victims. One of these
Classic
attempts was in
pedo shit.
2019
He's trying to-
under the
just trying
name
to- just trying to run around
Mucha
the
in which he
circles,
tried to
run
get
around in
involved with the
circles, classic pedo
Pokemon
shit.
community, which is also ripe with minors for grooming. That same year in 2019, he gave a short interview to the creator for no good reason, wherein he claimed to be seeing a psychiatrist. But in 2020, he popped up again under the name Abri72 or Zephyr the Indie Doggo. A lot of Twitch VODs are still up from this era of Zach's online life, where you can clearly tell it's him. This comeback attempt would also be picked up by commentators, given that the original ordeal drew hundreds of thousands of eyes across various videos. The Abree's Twitter account will be deactivated after people realized the account owner was none other than Zach. The Twitch account still remains, although it's been inactive for 2 years. As to where Zach is nowadays, I have no idea. But it
Good.
is a little irritating that the answer to that question isn't a definitive behind bars.
Yeah,
and
true.
There's nothing anyone
True.
can do about it.
He probably, yeah, his best bet was to get the
Brony's
fuck
had a
off the
thriving
internet.
content creation scene back between 2011 to 2014, with one very popular creator being Mando Pony, or Andy Stein, who created mainly rock music, thematically centered around the show and the fandom. While his Brony music wouldn't reach the level of popularity as creators like
Brony
Jody
music?
Tombstone's music did, his popularity in the Brony
People made
community
Brony
has nothing to
music?
write off. He started off
What?
with chiptune music.
I
themed
didn't
around
hear
the
about
show,
this.
A genre of music which emulates the style of old video game music that was made with the 8 and 16-bit sound chips. It's later on that he would create his popular rock songs, the most notable one being Loyalty, which has 2 million views. Let this be a lesson about being careful with passing your homies the aux cord because they might play My Little Pony rock. Unlike a lot
real.
of Brony creators who just got popular doing pony content.
If the homie puts on some My Little Pony music, we're fighting. In GTA, we're squabbling it up immediately. We're squabbling immediately.
Faded into obscurity, Mando Pony's career would actually peak outside of the Brony space. When the video game franchise Five Nights at Freddy's took off, he would be sure to capitalize on it, and it paid off, because his song Survive the Night has been played over 40 million times on YouTube. He would also find some decent success by crossing over into other fandoms, although he had clearly peaked and would probably never hit that level of success ever again, because that's just how being a creator goes sometimes. You would think he would rest on his laurels and silently fade into obscurity, but he did not get the privilege of having a peaceful end and being remembered fondly. In July 2020, a Twitter account called Exposing Andy Stein was created. This account started making threads containing screenshots showcasing Andy sexting minors on Snapchat. To make matters worse, he was also married while he was doing this. So according to the allegations, not only was he a predator, but an adulterous one at that. Unfortunately, a lot of this information was not well archived. This Twitter account appears to have once contained all of the allegations and evidence against Andy, but it no longer exists. The most important pieces of information
just
are
all
still
these
out there,
bronies.
though, able
You
to be
see,
dug
it's
up.
a
The
sign.
main victim that was
You're
highlighted
not
by
normal.
the account, age 17, had definitive proof the messages
If
were
you were
from Andy
already a brony,
because, well, they
you
had
shouldn't have
nude
been
pictures of
trusted
him.
in the
The
first
allegations
place.
about him sexting the 17-year-old girl would be the most widely spread, since he sent messages that would suggest he knew her age and that he thought what he was doing was wrong. He said, "I've been meaning to say, yeah, thank you for keeping all of this private. It's probably wrong of me to be attracted to you, but I can't help it. Just as long as it's kept quiet and you're comfortable, is that okay? And it won't progress beyond just flirts or lewd moments, lol. XD. What's with these people and saying XD after making the
For
most
real.
incriminating and weird statements known to
Saying
man?
the
Things would only
craziest
get worse
shit
for Andy
ever,
from here, though,
XD.
because others started claiming to have had
Craziest
inappropriate
shit ever,
conversations
and
with
just
him on
throwing an XD
Snapchat.
on the
One
end.
claiming to be as young as 14. On Twitter, she made the following statement. This was the Snapchat that Andy Stein gave me, and the account he used to send nudes on. I was 14, homeless, scared, and lost.
What?
And you took advantage of you being my idol, telling me not to tell anyone. Going
Oh,
through this
God.
person's Twitter, you can see they were a fan of Andy, and Andy actually liked one of their tweets. They also provide screenshots of DMs between
All these
them and
motherfuckers
Andy,
got a little bit
although
of
there
clout.
appears to be no proof of
Nah,
any
the
sexual
first dude didn't have no
conversation, as
clout.
they
He's
claim
a
it was all
speedo.
deleted. A TikTok was made where user Emily Really Likes Cows shows old conversations she had with him when she was 13, claiming he was the one
What?
reaching out to her a lot. But in her case, nothing sexual seemed to have
Oh,
happened
wow.
either. There's also a screenshot on Snapchat of
Oh,
him supposedly
wow.
calling a 13-year-old cute, and some allegations of him flirting with a 15-year-old on Instagram, including him drawing lewd artwork of them and a collaborator of his, Nate Wants to Battle. The Exposing Andy Stein Twitter account
Bro got
posted
caught up
some of Andy's
all
art,
over.
3 of them including the 15-year-old victim. The last image includes him, the girl, and Nathan Sharp as furries on stage with Nate, daring the girl to kiss him. And no, Nate did not consent to this drawing.
Bruh.
Nate, who Andy had previously toured with, would silently remove songs they did together from his channel during this time. But
Pretty smart.
these allegations did
Sounds
not
pretty
spread nearly
smart.
as far as the Toon Critic Y2K ones. And this could be due to a few factors, such as the fact that, although the other alleged victims were much younger, the main accuser was 17. Another reason this case might not have blown up like Toon's was because Andy didn't respond for about a year, and instead silently locked down all of his social
The
media
thing in the middle of
accounts.
his teeth
Around
made
this
me
time,
think
he
there was
also
something on my
disabled
screen.
comments and likes or dislikes on all of his videos. And the last tweet he made before he was exposed was foreboding. After speaking with my therapist, psychiatrist, and more, I am stepping away from social media and any spotlight. I am not well. I am seeking help. My family and friends are supporting me. Until I am healthy, I wish you all peace and joy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Andy
that's
would
why you
remain
left.
quiet
Totally.
until March 9th,
Fucking totally, that's why you
2021. He
left.
would go on Twitter to post a statement from himself and his legal team. In the statement, he claims he was investigated by the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in coordination with the LAPD. Their months-long investigation apparently turned up nothing, and they found no evidence of any crime. Thus, he said the allegations were false, but that he would still be stepping away regardless. He stated, "I do now understand, however, that some of my fan interaction may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments made others feel in ways I never intended. I am ashamed and extremely regretful to have put my family, and those I love, in the position to question my integrity. I do not deny I failed my wife, my family, my friends, and my supporters, but I am not a criminal." It's unclear what exactly happened here, since Andy was definitely sexting
Maybe you're not a criminal,
without
but
the
you're a
details of the
fucking weirdo. I'll
investigation,
say
we
that
may never
much.
truly know. A few months later, in October of that year,
I'll
he
tell you
released a
that.
new
I
song
can tell you
called
that.
Before Treatment.
You're
The
fucking
comments
weird,
are
dude.
still turned off, and it didn't even crack 100,000 views. In July of 2022, he would release a cover of Come On Out from Disney's Zombies 3, which performed even worse than the previous song. On
What
August
is-
22nd,
what?
2022,
Disney
Mando
has a
Pony
movie
would
called
respond again to
Zombies
the
3?
allegations.
What?
In a
What the fuck? What? I never heard of this. I guess, huh?
new post, he claimed
What
a
is
second
Disney on
investigation
nowadays?
was
That
confirmed
looks
and
like
that
some
they found
bullshit.
nothing.
That movie looks
He ended his
garbage.
response by asking people to not believe everything they read online. At the time of writing this, Andy is still active online, but his Instagram is still private, and he's largely inactive on Twitter. Will he make a full-fledged comeback? Will his reputation recover? For now, no one knows for sure.
Who's next?
Every April Fool's Day, 4chan does something
ML
special.
politically
In 2021,
My
they
Little
added a
Pony
rake
politically
icon to
incorrect.
post
Oh,
so that you
God.
could report someone just for being a leaf, also known as being Canadian. Some
Huh.
of their April Fool's
What?
gags have been site redesigns, like in 2016 when they overhauled the UI to look like Google+. But in 2017, they pulled off a particularly entertaining and strange gag. That is, an experiment to merge two of the most prominent boards into one. Various proposals were dreamt up, but the most intriguing was ML Poll, combining /MLP and /poll, the politically incorrect board, which definitely does its name justice, as its options for flags you can post under include black nationalist, fascist, and of course the swastika. No one in their right mind would expect this to go smoothly, and that was probably the point. You could safely assume that bronies would tend to be progressive, given their eccentric tastes. And you would also expect the anons on /poll to
What is
staunchly
going on?
reject the sexually
This is
liberated,
why I
furry,
will continue
and
to say
LGBT
this forever
pastimes
until
of
it
the
happens.
bronies. There were
4chan
some
needs
other
to be
even more
burned to the
catastrophic
ground.
implications of the merge, though. You
Burned
see,
to
4chan
the
divides
ground.
boards into safe
Please.
for work and not safe for work categories, dictating whether adult material is allowed on the board. /poll falls in the not safe for work category, but /MLP doesn't, by some miracle, though it probably should. Usually, explicit material isn't allowed on there, but with the two boards coming together, it meant that the bronies with more salacious interests would no longer have to hold back, and as
Huh.
such, the floodgates were opened. This was 2017, the year
Oh,
that Trump
yep.
entered the presidency,
When
and
I got
the
off
same
the
year
internet.
of He Will Not Divide Us. Poll was getting an amount of online traction it had never seen, and hasn't since. This meant that you had droves of conservatives going to poll for their daily post of every page. Once the pony porn posting died down, though, the unexpected happened. These neckbeards, despite their vastly different locations, started finding common ground. OP, who would Hitler's favorite brony be? Reply, probably Pinky because he was fond of confections and would have admired her positive attitude. Maybe these pony weirdos aren't as bad as Democrats at least.
What?
Allow this to continue
No, they're-
forever.
no.
Someone even posted a comic of Twilight Sparkle forgiving Hitler. It reads, sure, he made the wrong choice, but he made it for the right reasons. He was trying to help his friends. We've all done something silly for a friend, right? Gotta say, this is the
Wow.
first time I've heard someone describe the Holocaust as silly. And
Silly.
of course, plenty
It's
of
a
people
silly
took
little
the occasion
mishap.
to post
It's
Ariane,
fucking-
a National Socialist pony character bearing a heart with a
This shit
swastika
really
in it,
happened.
whose name is a nod to the word
This shit
Aryan.
happened.
You know,
This was
sometimes
an
you've been
era.
online for long enough and you think you've seen it all. And every once in a while you're reminded, no, you never will. It dawned on the Poltards and Bronies alike that the magic spell uniting them would
Poltards.
wear off once the clock struck midnight. This was only supposed to be a one-time thing as an April Fool's gag. But they weren't having it. They attempted, in vain, to make the board an official staple of 4chan. Someone even created a
What?
Declaration of Independence for the board called the Policies of Polestria, a portmanteau of Pol and Equestria, the mythical land of ponies, including rules like no race mixing. But their efforts
What?
were in vain, because
What
even
the
a site like
fuck?
4chan wasn't actually willing to host this schizophrenic Frankenstein's monster of a subculture beyond
Yeah.
the scope of a mere April Fool's
Good.
joke. As a
Good.
result, Anons flooded other boards to complain about what had been taken from them. I'm so upset right now. They took away the one board that actually drove away the Redditors and shills. It was going to be a glorious place where we could actually talk about politics without autistically screeching and shitposting. I saw multiple threads where people were actually giving their honest opinions on the state of the world. You know, talking about real politics, having actual quality debates. No baits.
Why
no
do you
trolling,
want to be a
not even any
4chan?
real
Why do you want to
animosity,
be a
even to
4chan debate lord? Why do you just want to sit on 4chan and debate about politics all day? Go and fucking do something with yourself.
differing beliefs. Just civil discussion. It was glorious.
Go
and
and
now
do
it's
something
gone.
with
For the
yourself.
first time in years, we could have real political discussions on the hidden board
Another one
without
of
all
them.
the garbage. We all loved ML Poll and didn't want it to get deleted. You can't just give us a taste of heaven only to rip it away from us like that. Real OC was being pumped out left and right. We were all having tons of fun. It was like
Fuck
the
is
old
OC?
days again. And you're just going to do us like that? This is the internet's version of the Christmas truce in World War I, where soldiers on both sides unofficially ceased fire and played soccer. You could make a TED Talk about how heartwarming the whole event was, as it truly proved that people can come together against all odds, just as long as they are equally deranged to some capacity. What's particularly surprising is that right-wing bronies already existed prior to this event, perhaps the most infamous example being My Nationalist Pony, a Tumblr blog which was started by Buttercup Dew within a few years of the show's launch, the writings from which were eventually published as a book. The description of the book reads, "The cartoon series My Little Pony is beloved of little girls and grown men alike. In My Nationalist Pony, Brony blogger Buttercup Dew gives a new rightist reading to My Little Pony, arguing that in addition to its wholesome stories of friendship and self-acceptance, the series is implicitly Eurocentric, pagan, and deeply conservative. The premise is that the world of My Little Pony is an idyllic utopia because the ponies are racially homogenous and resist the influence of foreign cultures, remaining genetically superior." I don't really... What am I supposed to say about this, okay? What am I supposed to say? Without purchasing the book, I'm unable to access his fascinating hypotheses. However, he was interviewed by countercurrents.com and expounded upon his theories about the show. Nearly every single element of the show is an analogy for a piece of the traditional or classical West, and the universe of the show functions according to a sort of friendship-based European ethnocentrism.
Bro, if you're getting this type of fucking context, this type of depth out of a My Little Pony episode, you need serious help. Like, the maximum amount of help.
If you watch a random episode of the show, you are guaranteed to find at least one level of implicit whiteness in traditional Occidental civilization. The show's characters and the conflicts they go through reflects the ideal of personal destiny as manifesting unique and indispensable racial biology, with the context of a wider, traditional, ethnocentric European society with its own racial folk religion, celebrations, political conflicts, and phobias. He's using too many syllables for me to be able to understand, considering I'm barely literate, so I won't read any more of his PhD dissertation on why Adolf would have been a brony. To top it off, in this interview he calls himself a flaming homo, and he says he goes to gay bars. I wonder if he told the men he was flirting with about his MLP headcanon, where Rainbow Dash was a high-ranking member of the SS. Believe it or not, this guy wasn't as much of an exception to the rule as you'd think. Several articles have been written by publications like The Atlantic, Rolling Stone, and the New York Post about the Nazi problem in the brony community, what with the abundance of racist fan art floating around, especially during the BLM protests. A particularly wild incident related to this was a mass shooting of all things. In 2021, a 19-year-old shot up a FedEx building in Indianapolis, killing 8 people before taking his own life. A Rolling Stone article about the tragedy wrote, "According to the Wall Street Journal, which cited internal memos circulated by Facebook in the wake of the attack, the gunman primarily used his Facebook accounts to discuss his love for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, a children's cartoon featuring magical ponies. Male fans of the show are often referred to as bronies. Though the memo was quick to state that there was no indication that brony culture played a role in the attack, the gunman posted about his love of a tawny pony named Applejack, one of the main characters of the franchise, less than an hour before the rampage. I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her," he wrote. "If there's no afterlife and she isn't real,
joking?
then my life
Are
never
you
mattered
fucking
anyway."
kidding me?
The gunman also reportedly had a history of posting far-right content, such as a meme suggesting Jesus had been reincarnated as Hitler, the memo stated. If you think that's twisted, the Buffalo shooter looked at Martha Speaks' furry hentai on his phone mere minutes before he committed his racially motivated mass murder. I can't tell which is more disgraceful. In fact, the furry community also has a subset of Nazis among them. Rocky Mountain FurCon was canceled in 2017 for this exact reason, because they didn't feel it would be safe to host it with certain prominent attendees espousing those beliefs, despite being the minority. Considering the furry and brony communities have significant overlap because of their similar proclivities, as peculiar as it is, it makes sense that both would have these issues. What is it with people who are very invested in politics being obsessed with horses? Can we get some studies on that anytime soon? Definitely gonna need to direct some taxpayer money towards that kind of research. Meanwhile, someone needs to start notifying stables about these dangerous equine predators. The brony fandom is one of the strangest out there. My Little Pony is a franchise with an intended demographic of pretty much anyone besides grown men, and yet, they've rallied around it for a decade and are still going strong. What started as just a bit of irony on 4chan spiraled out of control into one of the biggest
Imagine being this degenerate. Imagine putting yourself in these costumes. Like that's worse than a furry costume. You had them make you a whole My Little Pony costume. So you could dress up with all your little buddies as My Little Pony. That is crazy. That's wild.
Early 2010s, in the process
wild.
accomplishing the unimaginable, getting everyone from teenage boys to middle-aged dads to wait with bated breath to watch a show about horses, rainbows, and the importance of friendship. It'd be so impressive if it weren't so horrifying. As with any community, there are always a few bad apples in the bunch. Predators can easily use an interest that appeals to kids like this one to take advantage of them. And
This is
there's probably
degenerate
a lot
act.
more
That was
plain old
just straight
zoophiles
degenerate
or
activity.
cloppers that we didn't get into. To give you an idea, ponies from MLP have some of the most Rule 34 drawn out of any fictional characters of all time. What an unfortunate metric to be at the top 1% of. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how actually bad the over-sexualization problem is in the Brony community. Hopefully, this is one of those
Especially
trends
since
that
they're all
dies
supposed to be
off
fucking
once the source
teenagers,
material
too.
is no longer
Tells
being
you something.
produced, since the show
Tells you
has
something
long
about
since
these Bronies,
finished
guys.
airing. Though the MLP fandom is so obsessive, it's not beyond them to come up with their own entries to the universe. Or who knows, maybe Hasbro thinks the 2020s aren't abominable enough as is, and they decide to launch a new generation of My Little Pony products to appeal to disillusioned young men.
Please don't.
I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching. And until next
God! I've been diving into this fucking Turkey Tom dude, and he definitely has some banger fucking dark side of the internet video docs. I'm enjoying them. I'm enjoying them so far. That just melted my brain. That just melted my brain. Why are there people like that? Why are there people like that? Well, let me know what y'all thought about that one.